Nestled in the heart of Glasgow, on a hilltop, lies Glasgow Necropolis. It wouldn't. Oh, an aptly timed crow. The most famous ghost of the Glasgow Necropolis is a woman in white. She appears between the gravestones. This is home to more than one ghost story, but more importantly, it's home to an alleged savage, 7-foot-tall, iron-toothed vampire. Nestled in the heart of Glasgow, on a hilltop, lies Glasgow Necropolis. This is home to more than one ghost story, but more importantly, it's home to an alleged savage, 7-foot-tall, iron-toothed vampire. This vampire is said to have killed 2 young children. There is a very enchanting tale, if you want to call it that, surrounding the Glasgow Necropolis vampire. In the 1950s, an army of 200 children came into this graveyard in the dead of night to try and seek out this 7-foot monster. They were armed with stakes and dogs and anything they could lay their hands on because they were convinced that there was an evil killer in the mix. This story came to an abrupt end when the local policeman followed this group of children into the graveyard. Their claims were very quickly dismissed, and comic books were actually banned in Glasgow at the time because they were said to be spurring the children's overactive imagination. So, were these children in a little fantasy world, or does the Glasgow Necropolis vampire really exist? I hope I don't find out. From the Glasgow Necropolis, you can see views all over the city below. These tall, looming tombstones keep a watchful eye on the city below as it sleeps. Dare you come here after dark? I have not run into the vampire yet, but as with all graveyards, this place has a hauntingly sombre attitude. This place has been likened to Père Lachaise because of its tall, dramatic tombstones from the Victorian era. In my personal opinion, it's not quite as picturesque as the beautiful Père Lachaise in Paris, but it's pretty impressive nonetheless, and as one of the most haunted places in Glasgow, perhaps somewhere that should be on your bucket list this Halloween. wouldn't. Oh, an aptly timed crow. There are lots of crows in this graveyard, which certainly adds to the eerie ambience, and they seem to be stealing my shot. But yeah, this place is very atmospheric, even in the middle of the day. But this wouldn't be an episode of the Brocarde Show without telling you a ghost story or two. Now, this is a cemetery. Thousands and thousands of people are buried here. Of course, there are going to be ghosts. The most famous ghost of the Glasgow Necropolis is a woman in white. She appears between the gravestones, floating through the night. Have you been to Glasgow Necropolis? Have you had an encounter with the woman in white? Other ghosts include apparitions of small children. Are these the small children that have allegedly been slayed by the notorious cemetery vampire? People have heard dismembered voices, and some of the statues on the graves are said to change their facial expressions. So, it seems highly likely that this cemetery has more than one resident ghost. Either way, it's a beautiful place to visit. I think officially the gates close at sundown, but if you're brave enough, come when they're open. I'm not encouraging anyone to run through the graveyard in the dead of night, but even for a peaceful stroll, there are lots of people walking their dogs here. There are lots of people just walking around, soaking up the atmosphere. It's very tranquil, it's very peaceful. It's not a bad way to spend an hour or two in Glasgow if you're not afraid of bumping in to one of the alleged undead. Looping back in to the tale of the vampire that is plaguing my mind during this trip to this cemetery. What was it that made those 200 children descend upon this graveyard armed and in need of vampire slaying? Allegedly, the police say that they didn't even have any reports of 2 missing children. So, did 2 children die here at all? Was it really the work of an iron-teethed vampire? It certainly sounds like the content of the best novel. But is there any truth in it? Or is it just one of those tales that keeps growing and growing like an ever-menacing beast, taking over the imagination of all who visit Glasgow Necropolis? I'm yet to find truth to the rumour, but I do love a good story. So thank you for coming with me for a few moments inside this stunning Victorian cemetery. If you enjoyed that, there'll be plenty more haunted hotspots to follow. As you will see, the statues, this one in particular, has been severed in 2, most likely due to wear and tear, because some of these tombs have been here for years and years, weathered and worn, but still stunningly beautiful in their varying states of decay. Also, from the necropolis, you get an absolutely stunning view of Glasgow Cathedral.